Now Brian loves the Truckee skies where the planes take off and the dreams fly high. He's got a runway heart and a hangar soul. At
Good
Truckee
day,
Airport,
aviators. I
he's
am
found
here to get you started with Say Intentions on your first flight. This first video is going to be right up to taxi. We'll probably get taxi instructions, and then that's kind of where we'll leave off, because we got a lot to touch on the app when you first boot it up to make sure it's all set up properly. So let's start with that. So you download Say Intentions. At this point, hopefully you've tested your mic and it all works. If it doesn't, go over to our Discord. We'll straighten you out there. We'll get it all straightened out. But if your mic works, fantastic. Our first step is going to be in the app. So let me bring that up here. That kind of worked. All right. In your app, you're going to go into your settings. And first thing you're going to want to make sure is that your email address is in there correctly, and your password, obviously. Your input speech is always good to be the language that you speak. And your SimBrief username. You're going to want a SimBrief account, and if you have one, you're going to want to put your username in there to do IFR flights. Right now, Say Intentions only pulls from SimBrief, so you aren't getting an IFR clearance if you don't have one on SimBrief. So that's why you want that. But for VFR, you don't need it. Next up, for your options, I suggest having student pilot mode on. It'll just give you a little bit, I don't want to say hand-holding, but a little bit more, not hand-holding, but more guidance and giving you more frequencies. For example, if you head up into the air, they'll say contact departure, but they won't give you the frequency because they expected that you wrote it down on your clearance. Whereas on student pilot mode, they'll always give you the frequency just to kind of help you out a bit. So that's always good to start on. You can take it off once you feel comfortable. Squelch tail effect, ground loop effect, it's all just radio effects. They're always good to have on. Always on top. I don't like having the app anywhere near me. I like it being out of sight, out of mind, and I have to concentrate on my old ears to do everything. Auto tune standby frequency. This is helpful, especially I use my phone to tune my radios because I'm not rich enough to have a radio stack. But this is helpful if you have a complicated plane you have to twist knobs on. It'll pop it into your standby frequency so you can just switch over and it'll have your next frequency queued up for you. And auto-tune transponder, same situation. When you get your squawk, it will pop your squawk code right into your transponder. They take away from realism, but helps with a fun version of it. Next one, you're going to want to hop over to identity. This is important. Remember to read the rules and everything that you agree to when you downloaded Say Intentions. It's a family-friendly situation, so there's obviously things you're not going to put in here because our AI is going to call you those things. So, aircraft model and tail number. Aircraft model can be whatever you want ATC to call you. With me, I keep my Cessna and then my Charlie 4 Tango Foxtrot for my tail number. With me being Canadian. If you're flying an airliner or anything like that, you could put in Southwest and then your flight number there, and that's what they'll call you. My advice for you is to always throw in your country identifier, be it Charlie for Canada, November for the States, and all those. Throw that in there, and I'll show you why. I'll switch mine up too. It just helps with identification. There's a reason for it. Brian told me. Can't remember what the reason was. But if you throw it in, you'll do, let's say, November for Tango Foxtrot. You throw that in, and when you hit auto, it's not going to throw in that country identifier in your call sign. So it's good for your tail number, but it won't be thrown in there. If I do 2, I bet you it'll throw in though. Yeah. So it always ignores the first one. I have a few in here. 134 Golf Tango. I have them all for a bunch of virtual airlines that I did. And we'll talk about helicopters way upcoming. Helicopters are still being slowly introduced into Say Intentions. But when you do use a helicopter call sign, it starts to try and understand that you're a helicopter. Still very early on that. But that's it. That's all you need to worry about for identity. Headset. Hopefully you're already here. You got your headset in. And it works, and they can hear you. Set your volumes the way you'd like it. Controls, the most important control to have that you absolutely need is your COM radio PTT. Intercom PTT is good to have, but COM radio PTT you need, or you can't talk to air traffic control. And eliminates the whole purpose of having say intentions. Next up is multiplayer. This is my usual setup is pre-recorded as well, but your options are canned, which is AI generated content. You can increase or lower the slider for how much canned chatter you want. Next, this one I used to use a lot, live multiplayer global. It would take whatever frequency you're on, tower, ground, clearance, whatever, and you would hear worldwide of people same on that frequency. So if I'm on ground in Truckee and someone else's ground in Heathrow, we're going to hear each other, and it just kind of gives it a more of a lived-in world. I stopped using that because the world got real lived in real quick. Now I use live multiplayer proximity. That's basically if you're on a frequency at an airport and someone else is on a frequency airport, you're going to hear each other. And it's ranged as well. Pre-recorded multiplayer proximity, I use that. I'm not using it now because there'd be a lot of talking going on in the background. But it records conversations from before, and it'll play it. So if someone was at Truckee 3 hours ago on tower, it would play it for me now. And it makes it feel more lived in, and also that we're all at Truckee. Share my audio. This is where people get a little hesitant. Share your audio. If it's not checked, your voice will not go out over multiplayer. No one will hear you. And it's good in a way that if you're really nervous and really shy, it's good to have unchecked. But honestly, even if you're nervous and shy or not very confident in your skills, still leave it on. People will hear you, but no one's gonna flame you on Discord or anything, and it really just contributes to the whole multiplayer aspect of Say Intentions. It's not like VATSIM where other people can hear you and immediately jump on you, and the controller's going to jump on you. The controllers are going to be very helpful because they're programmed that way. So I suggest keep Share My Audio on. If not right at the start, once you get comfortable, get back in here and click it on. Intercom, this is good, but for a lot later we're going to do a whole thing on it. This is going to be where you have your cabin crew, your mentors, your tour guides. People are big fans of Janet. We'll talk a lot about that in later videos. So right now we're just going to leave that disabled. Miscellaneous is your ActiveSky integration. If you have ActiveSky, you can integrate it. I do not, so I have not. Experimental, most of this you'll basically ignore. Aircraft system overrides, I ignore all of them. Sometimes it doesn't work with certain planes, but I didn't even look into it because I ignore it. Bypass AI speech recognition, no reason to ever check that unless you're working with Brian for some reason. You could ignore that. Connection, this is up to you, but if you're starting out and you just want the most stable version of Say Intentions, use the primary server. The experimental server is going to be where we roll out new features and get it kind of tested in the community, and we don't want to roll something out that breaks everything for the primary server as well. Primary server will always be the most stable. Dev server, only if you're working with Brian, he'll pull you over there for more fine-tuning of certain situations you're having. But I stay on experimental, but I would suggest staying on primary to start. But that's it. If you got that, you're all set up. Next step is to actually figure out how to talk to Say Intentions. So I'm going to shrink that. And somewhere around here, there's a button here. I'll figure it out. There it is. So this is on my second screen, so I don't actually see that right now, but it's good for you to see it. Grab your frequencies. The realistic way is grabbing it from your charts, but if you don't have charts or if you're unsure, you always have your Say Intentions app if you want to use it. The Say Intentions app will always give you the frequencies in your area, so you never really have to guess. With student pilot mode, if you accidentally broadcast on a frequency that's not monitored, I assume a very overpaid controller is just monitoring all the unmonitored frequencies to let you know that you're trying to transmit on unmonitored frequency. If you have student pilot mode off, though, you won't hear anything. You'll broadcast and it'll just be dead silent. And that's pretty much the realistic thing. If you try and broadcast on a frequency that's not monitored, no one's going to talk back to you. What we're going to do now is we're just going to talk to Say Intentions, do some radio checks, really kind of get into the testing phase of what Say Intentions can and cannot do. Cannot do, not too much. The thing you have to get out of your mind, and it took me a very long time to get out of my mind, because I came from Multi-Crew Experience, which is an on-rails kind of shared cockpit thing from FSX days, but they had a ATC voice recognition menu-based system. It would just pretty much pick the numbers from the default ATC. So I got really used to being really on rails with what I said, because you had to be exact in your vernacular or it wouldn't understand you. That is not the case with Say Intentions. As long as you're barking around the tree of what you want, they can usually figure out what you want. So starting out, we'd get our ATIS. Just going to skip over ATIS right now. We're going to do a full flight in my upcoming videos. Right now I just want to kind of give you an example of how it starts. So the first thing you're going to do is hop over to Truckee Ground, which I assume I'm on. 118.3. Matter of fact, I know I'm on it because I've been here so many times. 118.3 will be Truckee Ground. So if you wanted to get a radio check, you just cue your mic and ask for one. Truckee Ground, Cessna November 4 Tango Foxtrot, radio check. And again, you can see it, but I can't see it right now, so it's, I don't know if I heard it.
4 Tango Foxtrot, Truckee Ground 555.
That's great. There are some artifacts in some of the voices. You hear some weird screaming in the back, but that's always being worked on with the radios. Oh, another fun thing that not too many people actually recognize. Maybe they do. Maybe it just took me a long time to recognize. When you change your call sign in Say Intentions, it will change your tail sign in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's the only program that I've actually figured out that could do that, where you didn't have to go into your liveries or wherever in Microsoft Flight Simulator. You switch it in Say Intentions, it'll change it in your plane. Yeah, so I did my radio check. What we'll do is we'll get clearance. I didn't actually quite think of Reno's close, so we're always kind of going to Reno. So I'll quickly get a flight following request, but we're going to talk a lot about in my future up and coming videos exactly how to talk to ATC, what they expect to hear. But the most important thing to know when you're communicating with ATC is your 4 W's: who you're calling, who you are, where you are, and what you want. So who I'm going to be calling is Truckee Ground, and that's going to be for flight following. And the reason is usually you contact clearance, but Truckee doesn't have a clearance frequency, so Ground takes care of that. And this is all United States dependent as well. Yeah, I don't know much about the UK, so we'll bring someone in with that expertise. So who you're calling is going to be Truckee Ground. Who I am is Cessna November 4 Tango Foxtrot, or Cessna 4 Tango Foxtrot. Where I am, it's going to be at General Aviation Parking, or wherever you are. If you're at Signature, whatever, you let them know. And then what you want. And I want flight following. And I'm going to want flight following to Reno at 9,500 feet. Truckee Ground, Cessna November 4 Tango Foxtrot at General Aviation Parking, looking for flight following to Reno, Kilo Romeo November Oscar at 9,500. So they get to chew on that. And I'm actually going to write this down, which you're going to want to do as well. So they give you 1 second for the clearances while you scramble for a pen because you weren't thinking about it, but I actually type it out. So we wait, and we wait. And of course, the cheating way as well is use the app.
Cessna 4 Tango Foxtrot on departure. Maintain VFR at or below 90500 feet. Departure on 127.905. Squawk 5443.
All right, and then once you get your flight following, it's just like a clearance. You want to read it back exactly, and then follow that with your call sign to make sure that they know that you understood your clearance completely. On departure, fly VFR at or below 9,500. Departure frequency 127.905. Squawk 5443. Cessna 4 Tango Foxtrot. And again, I can't see it, but it's not going to...
Cessna 4 Tango Foxtrot, read back correct.
Perfect. Read back correct means good, and I can hop, well, I'm on ground. I can get ground to start call for my taxi. You can miss some words. You'll see on the app, it'll be like, oh, it translated my words wrong or got my words wrong. This program is so darn smart. that it works it through what you probably wanted to say, and then it gets it right about 99% of the time, and it'll translate what you're trying to say into it. So if you mess up in your transmission, let them know you messed up. Be like, oh, disregard, I messed up. Remember, it's just not on Rails, and it's so hard to get over, but not on Rails at all. You tell them what you want. It's an amazing program. I can't fly without it now. It's so much so that I've made myself a part of it. But what we're going to do is, after I get this video out, just as a bare bones, this is how we're starting thing. I'll start doing further series. Next will be obviously taxi to takeoff. We'll talk about going to towered airports, untowered airports, flying through busy airspace. Somewhere down the line, we'll fly through New York airspace, which I haven't done yet. So I'll do that real time so you can watch me struggle live. Also, you can pay attention to me on the Discord. I'm going to do a lot of events. I'm going to be hosting a lot of new people events. Going to host a lot of fly-ins. Plus, I plan on just being around in Truckee on some days where you could just fly in, and then if you're having difficulty or if you want some more pointers or anything that I could try and help with, I'll be there. I am no expert by any means. I am competent. I give myself a competent. I am competent. And that's where we're at. I'm competent. So, my next video coming up, I'm not sure exactly when it'll be out, but it'll concentrate mostly on following your taxi instructions. And we're going to talk a lot more about ATC communication and what you want to say, what you don't want to say. Alright, but we will see you later.
Brian loves the Truckee skies, where the planes take off and the dreams fly high. He's got a runway heart.